And welcome to another video. And in today's video I'm going to show you how I made my Lucille from The Walking Dead. And this one is actually pretty simple, but there's one or two tips I want to give you when you're trying to make your own one. The build is pretty simple. So what I did is I went to Amazon, I ordered a baseball bat, not a fancy one, just a simple one, plain and simple. And I also ordered some V-shaped nails, we'll come to that later, and some barbed wire. That's pretty much all you need for the beginning. I also ordered some fake blood. When I received the baseball bat, it was way too bright, and it also had like it also was sealed to protect the wood, but it was kind of shiny. So the first thing I did, I took some sandpaper and I went over the entire bat. Once that was done, I took out my Dremel and gave it a bit of a used look, because you know, like, this thing is used to smash all kinds of zombies, people and stuff, and so it's expected to look very used. Once that was done, I then mixed up some different dyes and colors and stuff, and added some water to make it very liquid, and then I washed over the entire bat to give it a darker and a used look. And as you can see, the wood turned dark, but on the areas which I scratched with the Dremel and stuff like that, it got a lot more darker because the wood grain was softer in these areas and the color got soaked in a bit more. But the look turned out good. Next thing I did, I applied the O to the baseball bat as on the Lucille from the series, and then came a bit of a tricky part, adding the barbed wire. And well, let me see. So there are the V-nails, and since the barbed wire comes all rolled up, and it has like a very, you know, it's kind of has its own twist. So it's not like, you can't just simply take the baseball bat and wrap it around it. It will not work because the wire is too sturdy and has twisted and stuff. Also, I would recommend wearing some heavy-duty gloves when you do that. So what you want to do is, I would recommend you only do this if you have access. It's not very complicated, but you should have access to a vise or a similar device. Vise. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because what you want to do is you want to clamp the end of the barbed wire into the vise, and so that you can then. So I started with a bit of an access here. I then used one of the V-nails to get a starting point up here, bend it around a little bit, put in another V-nail here, and since the barbed wire is tucked into the vise, you now need to, and now you can, put really good tension onto the barbed wire.
Behold!
And that is because, like I showed you, the metal is very twisted and stuff, and has tension in itself. And now you can put the barbed wire to tension, and then you can really start rolling it around, twisting it around the way you need it, the way you want it to be. And due to the spikes on the barbed wire itself, it will get a good grip already. And yeah, then you just roll it as much and as far as you want to roll it. Once that is done, I think overall I only use like 3, 4, maybe a maximum of 5 of these V-nails to secure the barbed wire. But the barbed wire pretty much also holds itself in place, so you don't need a lot of the V-nails to hold it in place. And yeah, once that was done, I then started adding the fake blood onto the Lucille, and in the beginning it looked really good. but the problem is the fake blood really dries out and loosens a lot of color and brightness, and it doesn't really look, it doesn't really leave that much of a visibility. So what I then did was I mixed different types of red of acrylic paint with the fake blood, and that gave a really good mixture of color and color flow, but also made the leftover from the fake blood a lot more visible once it was all dried. And yeah, I mean, you can weather the bed itself as much as you want. You can add as much blood as you want. Maybe, I don't know, add some fake fur or a few hairs to it to like give it the look you want. And so yeah, and once that was done, I was like, okay, I want to mount it to the wall, but I didn't just want it to use like a simple, like these holders you can buy on Amazon, like how you would store a normal baseball bat. I didn't want it to do that, so I was like, okay, what would be a good idea, like a themed idea to store, to hold the Lucille. Then I remembered the picture of the Don't Let Open Inside door, and I was like, that would be a cool thing to use this idea of the door to hold the Lucille instead of the wood piece to lock the door. So I made this. This also, for the main part, was a pretty simple thing to make, but it also was tricky at some points. So I went to the hardware store, I bought a piece of wood which already had like the kind of color of the cafeteria door, which also has like the metal pieces on the bottom and also the metal handles with the metal on the door, which like this typical cafeteria door look. And the problem is the original handles, if I would have bought them, they would have been way too big. So I bought these smaller handles which you usually would add to a drawer. But the problem with these handles was that if you would attach them to a drawer, I mean, you probably know how they look like when they're on a drawer. The space between the handle and the drawer itself would have been way too narrow to fit the Lucille. So I was like, okay, I need to extend these, and this is where the build got a bit tricky. I bought two pieces of aluminum sheets, I just cut them in length, screwed them onto it. That was pretty simple. Same with here, these were cut from these two pieces and also just screwed into the wood. But now, okay, I need to extend these handles. So to extend these, I bought an aluminum tube which has the same size, but this is where I got a little bit tricky, because the aluminum tube has more space on the inside than the handle has due to the thread which is inside the handle. And that basically means that, to give an idea of the problem, if this is the end of the handle and this is my metal tube, they should be connected like this. But since the inside of the tube is wider than the one on the handle which has the thread in it, what would have happened would be, it would have looked something like this. Because the screw that goes through the hollow tube, the tube would sit on top of the screw and get threaded into the handle, and it would look like this. So I was like, okay, I need to bring it all the way up to this level. And so what I did was, I measured the inside width of the aluminum tube, and then I got some two-sided threads matching the inner width of the tube, and the inner thread of the inside-out thread matching the thread of the handle, so that the screw goes all the way through. So what I did then, I used two of these inside-out threads and inserted them into the aluminum rod. And once that was done, I then used a threaded bar to connect the handle to the tube, and then I used a screw going from the back side into the rod so that these two meet in the middle of it, giving it a very solid hold. And yeah, little notice, since the inside of the tube has no thread in it and it's not cutted, I really needed to apply a lot of force to get the thread into the metal rod because it was cutting itself in, and by turning it into the aluminum tube, the thread cut itself into it. With every turn, with every twist, it was pushing a little bit of more material in front of it, so it was very hard to really get the thread into the metal rod. Just be aware of that. So next time, if you do this and you have the chance to get a aluminum rod which already has a thread cut into it, gonna make the whole thing a lot easier. Once that was done, I had the "don't open that inside" airbrushed to the piece, also giving it a bit of shading, giving it a bit more of a used look, and that's pretty much all that is. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but still, for fans of the series, a pretty awesome decoration piece, and this one will go up on the wall. And yeah, if you liked the video, don't use the seal and smash some Asian guy. Smash the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.